Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. Okay, remember that they are changing my voice. They feel me very heavily last night, and I'm telling you, these people are unreasonable, and they're pedophiles and people that cover up for them and play their trickle-down mass murder, mass rape, and pedophile game. So I'm very proud of myself for not conforming. Let's get Lamentations 5 done here, even though, my voice is messed up pretty bad, because this has to be done with. Okay. And by the looks of it, they'll probably scream me out soon, and I'm very happy that the end is finally coming. This is one sick, evil world where people keep breeding on top of everything else so that their kids take on the same rape spirit that everyone else is in. And it's pretty sick. I mean, rape by deception, trickery, coercion, sextortion, every kind of rape you can think of is the only way that people, date and have kids and so on and so forth. And they say 2 out of 3 young men are single, and there's more than one reason. One reason is that people are so pitiful. And females are all in some kind of group, cult, military group, police group, political group, people play stupid. They think that you can't see through what they're doing. What they're doing is a variation of the Angry Red Savages routine, right? Where they try to stigmatize the Native Americans while they, dressed up and pretended that they were superior and they pretended to be divine and so on and so forth. And so they kind of put people in certain movements, right? Woke movement, what have you. They do it a little bit to the right, but, again, they're trying to make whites, Jews, and LGBT people seem superior. So they put their emphasis on minorities. They put their emphasis on poor people, okay? And they stigmatize minorities by making them more associated with the LGBT community in terms of what you see all the time, the images that your brain sees and associates. And they try to make it so white people seem more masculine and so on. It's a sick, sick joke. And every once in a while there's some kind of black cult or something that, is allowed to seem more masculine than most mainstream black people you come across. And it's just, to reinforce the rape cult system, to control reproduction, to control sexual behavior, set people up, The government has ways to watch people in their homes. They have all kinds of nudes. So they got everyone's nudes by now and everyone's videos of their sex life and so on and so forth. They have ways to do that. And they try to blackmail people with it. They use sextortion. They get people to commit to college and to get a corporate job, and they say they're going to ruin them if they don't, do the disgusting sexual acts that they want them to do and join their clubs. And they do a lot of sick things like that. There's thousands and thousands of different techniques they have, that they've refined over the years to control people sexually. And I don't want anything to do with this planet. Okay, that's that. I don't want that on my soul. I don't want to be moving in that spirit. I don't want to meet my maker. Having been a part of that, it's not going to happen. So I proudly proceed with the plan. My plan to stand firm and to accept being screened out, and hopefully it will be sooner rather than later. So this is the last chapter in Lamentations, Lamentations 5. Remember, Lord, what has happened to us. Look and see our disgrace. Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our homes to foreigners. Remember, these people are foreign to the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. And that's why they do stuff that's very, very stupid. Like they try to, change my voice, and they think that you're going to believe them and not me. That's like reading the history book and believing the colonists and not the most honest of the Native Americans. I mean, that is fucking retarded. It is dumber than hell to play into their kind of Freemasonry, kind of business suit, controlled opposition game, and to believe the worms they put there to try to benefit from the contrast between them and the people who are openly satanic and openly weird. Okay, it's stupid. Okay. We have become fatherless. Our mothers are widows, right? So they don't have God. They don't have what they describe as Jerusalem in the sky. We must buy the water we drink. Our wood can be had only at a price. Those who pursue us are at our heels. We are weary and find no rest. We submitted to Egypt and Assyria to get enough bread. Our ancestors sinned and are no more, and we bear their punishment. So they submitted to Egypt, right, which had fallen, right? Egypt at one point was a pretty decent place, right? They elevated Joseph. The Pharaoh was allowed by God to give Joseph his wife, to pick his wife for him, Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, the priestess of Ra, the daughter of the high priest of Ra. okay, then it fell out of favor, right? They started doing evil things. The Assyrians, okay, it's hard to say what they were when Nimrod founded Babylon, but the simple answer is Nimrod was a Cushite, and he kind of had children, and they were kind of Cain children, right? And, they became evil. So, just like they're trying to make me gay or something, right? And that's sick. I've been harassed by gays, covertly for many, many days now. They do things that are very disturbing. To make a long story short, these hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of people who have testified that they're using technology against them, like the Havana syndrome, they're right. And it goes beyond, the cognitive impairment they cause with zapping the brain. They've done that to me. It goes into the realm of, remote sexual harassment and remote sexual assault. Okay? Now again, we live in a time where everyone's in some kind of rape by deception energy. They're covering up for pedophiles. Okay? The teachers are being told to sleep with kids, and they get caught, and they make an example of them in the news to create a certain picture. A lot of this is being done for the picture, the theater arts that they're doing, the psychology, the propaganda. And of course, Egypt and Assyria, when they fell, and they're going to fall all the way, they're in free fall. The nations are in free fall. We're part of that falsehood thinking. Our ancestors sinned and are no more, and we bear their punishment. Okay, so it says they sinned and they are no more, and they bear their punishment. So people's offspring will have no valid redeemer. They'll just keep getting punished and rot, they meet their maker in disgrace. Why would anybody with any semblance of sense or better have children that are going to rot in some kind of sex cult culture, okay? And then they're going to meet their maker in eternal disgrace. Why would they pretend that they can protect them? Why would they pretend that their cultures aren't very complicit with trickle-down pedophilia and evil? Even if the whole world scrambled to stop sinning to the best of their ability after I'm gone, they would still be detestable, disgusting, horrible, horrible people. Okay? Because no bad tree can bear good fruit. They'll have stolen the world from the righteous. Why doesn't anyone understand that? They'll have stolen the world from the righteous. If someone stole from you your inheritance, from you and your entire family, and screened them out, I bet you'd understand that right before you die. You'd be pretty clear on it, that they did the wrong thing and there's no way for them to ever do the right thing. But when the world is stolen from the righteous, magically no one can understand, and they keep reproducing and acting like dumbasses. Goes on to say slaves, right? Slaves to sin. Rule over us, and there is no one to free us from their hands. We get our bread at the risk of our lives because of the sword in the desert. Our skin is as hot as an oven. Something from hunger. Women have been violated in Zion, and virgins in the town of Judah. So just like now, we see that it's that rape, right? They've been violated in terms of spiritually first and foremost, right? They're having sex in a way that is not including, that isn't centered in universal pinpoint and moral precision. All sex these days is not centered in universal pinpoint and moral precision. They're violated just by being the spirits they are in, because they're raped by deception spirits. They're being violated. So they're violated a zillion different ways. So women have been violated in Zion, and virgins in the towns of Judah. Princes have been hung up by their hands. Elders are shown no respect. Young boys toil at the millstones. Boys stagger under loads of wood. Remember, it said it's better for a millstone to be put over your neck and to be thrown into the sea than for you to lead one of these children astray. And in Revelation, it says that an angel threw a large boulder the size of a large millstone into the ocean, and said, with such great force, Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again. So they're leading the children astray. And the children are suffering as they're led astray, as it says in Leviticus, as it says in Lamentations, as it says in Deuteronomy, okay, as it says in Greek mythology, where Kronos, aka Saturn, eats his children. Okay, and Zeus pretends to escape, but his soul is eaten, and he becomes this horrible devil that becomes the king of the quote-unquote gods, but it's really the devils of Greco-Roman mythology. Okay. The elders are gone from the city gate. The young men have stopped their music. They're dancing to the devil's tune now, as they say. Joy is gone from our hearts. Our dancing has turned to mourning. The crown has fallen from our head. Woe to us, for we have sinned. Right? The problem is they've sinned, and they have no redeemer. but they had some hope in the future at the time, where the problem now is they're sinning, and there's tech breeding, cheating, generation, ill-gotten gains, their abomination, and God will never send them another redeemer. God will not forsake the righteous by sending them a redeemer after the top. God wouldn't do that. After the top martial artist has died. His flesh has died. That's me. Okay. Because of this, our hearts are faint. Because of these things, our eyes grow dim. From Mount Zion, which lies desolate, with jackals prowling over. Again, jackals. Who is Set? Who are the jackals? Why do they use the example of jackals? Because the pagans and the other people in the area also use the example of jackals. It was a symbol of Set. It was a symbol of the kings who were outside the divine order. The whole world knew of the idea of the top martial arts, right? Horus is a deity of martial arts, right? War, justice, right? And war in terms of natural war, right? Natural and supernatural, right? He's not depicted with guns or bombs or doing things that are unfair. He's a deity of martial art combat. Okay, and arrows to a martial artist is not much of a threat. And people realize that, being the best at hand-to-hand combat is far greater than being the best archer. Okay, because you want one-on-one with somebody who's the best at hand-to-hand combat, he's just going to block those arrows, come in close, and going to kill you. Right, so it wasn't something that showed spiritual power in combat. That's why it's called spirit and the sword of Scripture, and not the arrow of Scripture or the arrow or something. One spirit. Okay, so Set is the deity of jackals, snakes, just like Apep, just like the statue, right? The genius of Greek mythology, right, was said to be the essence of the statue, right? The way that the wicked have about them. You should tell by looking at people, for the most part, with almost every single person on this planet, when you look at them, you should more or less be able to size them up. It's even in the Hagakure. It says a good martial artist can size someone up, but it's also just a regular person who's seen people enough and is experienced with enough of them, has enough experience seeing people that they should be able to look at someone and say, hey, this is that type of person. Now, there's all kinds of dumbasses who think they can do that, who can't, but they should be able to do it. You just use your head, cultivate mental clarity, be good in analyzing people, and get it right. It's not very hard. So again, Set is a deity of confusions, chaos, storms, rape, especially rape by deception, because the storms, first and foremost, are figurative and spiritual. Okay? Not figurative/spiritual, but figurative and spiritual. The spirit realm does exist. To the Greco-Roman mythology person, they think it's all psychology because they're fucking idiots. That's why psyche, where you get the word psychology, means mind and soul, because and spirit. They think that if it's in your head, that it's a spirit, and that's all there is to it. Because when you're not a martial artist, you don't appreciate that spirits are real, right? When you're not truly a martial artist in the divine order with mental clarity. Because all other so-called martial artists, they are just using psychology. They're just like sports people who use psychology, who are just kind of living a lie. All right. So a deity of confusion, of storms, of chaos, rape by deception, forcible rape, a deity of brute force, right? Horus versus Set is also a martial arts disagreement. Horus, the true martial artist, the true king of kings, and Set, some kind of brute force dumbass with a bunch of kind of, effeminate people who play games like Freemasons, like college frats, like occultists like Crowley, who was homosexual, who play, kind of magic wand, Mickey Mouse, Harry Potter, Merlin games, Peter Pan clicking their heels, okay? Who try to come up with ways, you fixate on things and try to come up with ways to give the brute force traitor to God the upper hand, right? And so you get, boxing and MMA fighting and, bodybuilding. It's all kind of brute force, right? They have no higher cause. It's one thing if, you did in a way that wasn't so brutal and bloody and senseless, and you had the higher cause, you had the highest cause. But it's another thing if you're just some kind of brute, right? You're just trying to build up the flesh. The Bible talks about how the spirit is everything, the flesh means nothing. It talks about how various groups of people at times relied on the flesh instead of the Spirit of God, and they're being chastised and so on and so forth. Okay. You, Lord, reign forever. Your throne endures from generation to generation. Why do you always forget us? Why do you forsake us so long? Restore us to yourself, Lord, that we may return. Renew our days as of old, unless you have utterly rejected us and are angry with us beyond measure. Okay. So let me just briefly touch on a few cloud scriptures and let's wrap this up here. I know this video wasn't so great. I had to make it, walking around, being fumed after being fumed heavily all night. There's a bunch of jealous homosexuals and jealous people in the churches, mosques and synagogues. There's a bunch of jealous people in science movements and atheist and agnostic movements, New Age, light workers, cults, corporate movements, you name it. Just very, very pitiful, very disgusting people with rotten souls who just want to look good, just sick, arrogant fools. Okay? And they don't want you to have, a good presentation from Jesus, right? A good explanation, a good Bible reading. And everyone else who's reading the Bible, it's a traitors, just evil people, putting on a show in the spirit of evil that do not have God's permission, obviously don't have my permission to do what they're doing, and they're just completely disgraced. And people like George Morris, he confessed to sexually abusing a little girl, okay? It's not like his brain was hacked or something. It's not like he was covertly drugged. There was no reason whatsoever. It's something I wouldn't do with my brain hacked and covertly drugged, okay? But something that this person did without being brain hacked, without being covertly drugged. I mean, pretty drastic. The person's culture, okay? He wasn't raised by the most moral brain surgeon ever. He was raised by people who were immersed in white and Jewish and LGBT culture, whether they see it that way or not, whether they're gay or not, and they didn't properly prepare him to go through life. So he didn't bear any good fruit his whole life. Reading the Bible is neither here nor there. Reading the Bible to a bunch of lemmings and reinforcing their worldly psychology-based state is neither here nor there. So perhaps first and foremost is other so-called martial arts. It's the rich. It's people who get attractive women. It's people who are in various religious and so-called religious and spiritual movements. Very guilty. People who marry people. Very guilty. Very, very shameful. Luke 10:18. He replied, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Mark 42:62. Mark 14:62. I am, said Jesus, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. Not sitting at the right hand of King Charles or something, of Donald Trump or something. I mean, really? Joe Biden? Bernie Sanders? What the hell? That's not what it's saying. Not the Pope. The Pope is not right with God, and everyone knows it. Not of any church person who has an established church. Not at the right hand of these people. Not the right hand of the idea that they're worshiping. Because they worship the fucking devil. But at the right hand of the God looking down on these people. Saying, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Not at the right hand of some worms, some nerds who are like, change your speech patterns, make it sound like a church guy. Not those Beavis and Butthead type of motherfucking geeks. But at the right hand of God. And we know for sure, everybody who's ever a serious person who's ever lived knows for sure that everyone who didn't obey God through me is in a world of shit. A world of shit. Just the other day, there was countless Muslims going on their Hajj, minding their own business, other than doing what the New World Order said. You know what the New World Order said to them? The New World Order said, thank you for being a Muslim our way, and then they killed 1,300 of them. First, by their actions, they said, thank you for following the New World Order's conception of how to submit to God. And then, using their weather modification Nancy boy bitch shit, they then slaughtered 1,300 of them. Just like there was that earthquake, it was in like Syria or Turkey or something. They killed 50,000 people. Just like countless so-called Christians died during the pandemic. They're going to the church kissing their ass. Countless liberals. Countless people kissing the New World Order's ass. Did they say, hey, you came to the right spirit, guys, you're safe? No. They proceeded to slaughter over 1 million people in America alone. Because you're on the wrong fucking side of the debate. Wake up and smell the coffee. If I died right now, I know I lived the greatest life ever possible. But you people will die on your fucking knees, having disgraced your families, having brought your family straight to the devil, having not rallied to Jesus at the most important time in history.
Okay, so keep in mind, they have been changing the sound of my videos more than once. So when I heard it just now, it sounded a little bit corny. It sounded not so corny, and they're probably going to change in a way so it sounds just corny or something. So I decided to take off, the last clip because it sounded even worse. But to make a long story short, these people don't have the heart to take their chastisement like a man. It says in Proverbs, right, that a rebuke impresses somebody more than 1,000 lashes a fool. Okay? And so these people, they're some kind of jealous sissies, right? With some kind of crass, some kind of racist, Jewish, massive corporate organization. They're things like this, right? They think that if they cause me to stumble on my words, that them putting their dicks in a kid's ass magically becomes more respectable. They think that if they act like complete cowards and sabotage the races whose mind, body, soul, and spirit goes beyond theirs, that magically they'll seem superior. They reject the argument that in the future there'll be a bunch of George Jetson-like weirdos, and they'll know that because of history, and they'll know inherently, and if they didn't, who cares, right? They're George Jetson types, but they'll know that these people and their ancestors sank to the low down, dirty, no good point and position of sabotaging other people. Nobody wants to see Freddy Krueger sabotage Tiny Tim from A Christmas Carol or something. No one wants to see Freddy Krueger's descendants, in the same spirit as Freddy, or even trying to change, ruling over Tiny Tim, saying, hey, look at my jeans, look at my women, look at my cars. I mean, that's some bitch-ass shit. I'll never respect it. I'll go to God's right hand with extreme disgust, with extreme righteous anger aimed right at them and their offspring. And there's nothing they can do about that. They do not have the power to tell God a fucking thing. They do not have the power to rule over me. They do not have the power to rule over God. They're just some kind of sniveling, weenie cowards, heartless sissies. They're some kind of Riddlers and Jokers and Lex Luthors, but more corny than that. Why this is going on, they didn't learn from the timeline. I'll make another video shortly where I explain that. So clearly, as God is my witness, I triumphed over their families, over their spirits, over the English governing class, the French, the Germans, the Italians, the Europeans in general, over the Israelis, over the Jewish diaspora, the token minorities, the Freemasons, the corporations, the governments. All victories are in principle. Their paths were not respectable. They were failed. I transcend them. I go beyond. I'm above. The one who's from above is above all. I am above them as God is my witness. I triumphed over their spirits, and I've trampled their spirits. The American governing class, utterly disgraced, heads down, swimming in the gutter spiritually. I have conquered the enemies of God. Was it you? Was it other martial arts? Was it your churches? Was it your scientists? Was it your mentors and your politicians and your rich people? No, it was me. When worms even try to set the stage where they can try to take credit for what I've done, because they know that I have triumphed, and they are fucking jealous. They are extremely jealous. No matter what happens now, I have triumphed. You people have disgraced yourselves, your offspring, your ancestors, your families to the extreme. There isn't a crest on this planet that isn't fucking disgraced. There isn't a social club or corporate group or political group. There isn't a governing class member. There isn't anyone outside the divine order that is not disgraced according to their deeds. I move in the grace of God. You obey pedophiles and wordplay bitches. I have won. I am one, Alpha, and I have won. All victories are in principle, not in the opinions of racist whites, Jews, and LGBT people. Fuck their opinions. Not in the opinions of government oppressors. Fuck them. Not in the opinions of token minorities. Fuck them. All victories are in principle and in God's eyes. Fuck the bitch-ass motherfuckers who don't agree with God.